Let's get real for a moment. Deep down, do you know that you are the reason your business is not progressing? Are you continuously sabotaging, doubting, and blaming yourself, especially when it comes to finances, but you really have no understanding of how to stop it and instead choose to follow the next shiny object that catches your eye? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we place this stress on our shoulders when we are already doing way too much, juggling all different aspects of our lives? In today's episode of the Hot and Healthy in Business Show, our guest Marney Perna is going to share with us how a $1 million financial disaster in her own life put all her tips and tools as a stress management expert to the ultimate test. $1 million financial disaster? What happened and how did you deal with that?
It was Storm Financial. A lot of people might be aware of Storm Financial. It was a big investment company that went belly up. And of course, if you invested with them, all your money went belly up as well.
Ooh.
So we came home from family holidays, got a phone call from our financial advisor to say, oh, sorry, Storm Financial is closed. Don't call us because we can't talk to you.
Oh my God. How did you
dumbfounded, actually. At the time you were going, what do they mean? What are they talking about? Because there was a lot of money. We had all of our superannuation and investments in it. So yeah, it was horrible. So our family lost about $1.5 million. And the hardest thing was knowing that it wasn't just, because you found out it had gone belly up, but then you started getting phone calls from bankers that you had debts with. And they would say, well, you owe us, $400,000. How are you going to pay that? And when are you going to do it? And you go, what? Why are you doing that? And my business was quite fledgling, so I just started working as a clinician, and it didn't earn that sort of money. So,
oh my God, how did you cope with that?
The way I coped was I had to lighten the situation instead of being overwhelmed by it, because it was very overwhelming. And instead of being totally, I can't work from under the table. I do a lot of energy work, and if you're in that energy level, you can't work clearly or concisely.
So when you say I can't work under the table, you mean from when you're
from an energetic
so
level,
low.
yeah. So if you was constantly being bombarded by the negativity of what was happening, you couldn't step away from that and do work for other people. Right. It's like being sick and not being able to be in your highest good for another person. So I had to lighten it, and the way I lightened it was several ways. One, I don't know even where I found it, but I came across a company that sold $1 million notes. And they're Australian, and they're great fun, and I meant to bring one, and I didn't. But I ordered $100 million. It was empowering to order $100 million, and it cost something like $19. It was a bargain. And I used that as an energy tool to uplift myself. So I put $1 million all over the house. And they were so cheap, it didn't matter. But it was $1 million.
Wow.
And other concepts, like $1 million is only a one with lots of zeros. Well, zeros don't count.
Oh.
So it's only 1 0.
And that's a really good way to change your concept around money.
And it's only, use that word, like it's only. So I would say it's only $1 million. Mind you, my husband was having a mental breakdown at the time, but it was the only way I could do it. Well, he's the provider of the family, and he didn't have a mental breakdown, but we certainly had a calamity, and it had a big impact on our lives.
And so there's the $1 million notes around the house.
Yeah.
What were the other strategies that you used?
Well, I realised that a lot of the strategies I learned as a natural therapist came to the fore. So I have a series of 10 points to de-stress that I share with my clients. And they come to see me about many and varied calamities in their life, whether it's health, well-being, financial, business, whatever. And I will say to them, oh, but you've got to smile. And they're sitting there and they're flattened, and I'm telling them to smile, and they want to hit you because they don't want to smile. So again, I had to use the tools that I was giving other people to actually lighten my life as well. And a lot of that was through mirth and being not discounting of the disaster, but being able to downplay it so that it wasn't totally impacting my life.
And as you say, it's about lifting that energy so that you can cope in the situation more effectively. When my family my mum was passing from cancer, and it was a very difficult time, very difficult. And so there wasn't anything to sort of laugh about. But we all knew we had to get through a very difficult time. So one of the ways we did it in our own individual ways was beside her bed, we were all cracking jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people. And then they feel guilty because you're laughing.
Oh, no, we didn't feel guilty.
But a lot of people do.
Okay.
So they think mirth is downplaying or being disrespectful for the disaster that's going on.
The disaster is still a disaster.
Absolutely, it doesn't change.
But you need that lighter energy to move forward and cope. What other techniques do you use in helping people overcome stress?
Well, I can teach people control, not delete. So it's about saying stress is a trigger. So stress on its own is not the challenge. It's what the body does in response to the stressful situation. Okay, so it's a trigger of memory that causes you to react. So when I hear Storm Financial, I go, like this, because it's still a stress trigger with us. But it also made me aware of the energy of names as well. So when I went looking for my next financial planner, they had nothing like Storm Financial or Hurricane or Web.
Any weather system associated with
well, even the name Web. No, I'm not dealing with someone who's got Web in their name. I choose not to. So I will look for someone whose name makes me feel calmer.
Okay, so somebody comes to you and they're like, this calamity is happening. It might not be quite as big as $1 million disaster, but we all have different,
It's relevant to what's happening to that person at the time.
So they come to you and say, maybe they're not even aware that there is a stressor that's hanging around and it's representing maybe as disease or discomfort in some way. What's the process you go through when they come to you to work all of that out?
So when they first come to me, I allow my clients a 2-hour session for the first session. That enables me to get information from them, but it also allows them to feel comfortable and safe to be able to speak about what's going on. Because not everyone wants to come straight out and say, this is happening to me.
Right.
It's they go around about it a little way. So if you sit there and you're talking to them like we are now about what's going on in their lives, what's their position in life, if they had any accidents, things like that, they relax. And then I've got this sneaky little question at the bottom of the hour that says, is there anything else I need to know?
Oh.
And people either go, well, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? And other people say, oh, yes, but I didn't think I had to tell you. So all this other stuff.
And you're just like, give it to me because then I can help you.
Yeah, and then they might sort of think, well, because I've told you everything, you kind of know what's going on, so you know what to do. But what happens is it makes your body aware of the things that have happened in their life, the events, and the different emotions can be starting to come through. So when I start the kinesiology, we do it goal-orientated. So they'll tell me all these things that are happening, and I'll say, okay, well, what's the domino? So what one will we work on that will flow then to make everything else feel comfortable?
Okay. How did you get into kinesiology?
Kicking and screaming. Does that help?
A little.
I was lucky. I was a stay-at-home mum. I was very fortunate. My husband had a job and I could stay at home and look after the kids, and I had a lovely time. And then they got to high school and they didn't need you as much. Like, you finished being a taxi driver and your soccer mum and all those kind of things. So I had time to be looking for something. And I held an elderly mum who got chronic fatigue and Ross River fever at a time when it was a yuppie's disease. So we're talking 12, 14 years ago. If you had Ross River fever, you generally didn't have anything wrong and you were just making it up. Well, Mum was in her 70s. She'd gone from looking from a 5-acre allotment to a house block and couldn't get out of bed. So they would look at her and they'd say, God, you're old and you're fat. And if you weren't either of those two things, you'd be fine. And she got this constantly from doctors telling her she was lazy and, she only did this and she only did that. So I finally found a lady doctor and I thought, oh, this is great. She'll be really caring. So I went in with Mum and Mum listed all these seemingly random things that were happening to her but made sense on the whole. So it was like, I can't get out of bed of a morning. I'm tired all the time, but I'm not sleepy. And my bones ache and all these kind of things. And this lady doctor looked at her and said, God, you worry about yourself a lot, don't you? And I sat there and I went, I don't believe this. How dare she say that? So we insisted for a blood test and it came back Ross River. But they couldn't help. Like, they didn't know what to do with people that had it. So we looked elsewhere and found natural therapies and found kinesiology. And I thought, this is awesome. I love it.
What is it about kinesiology that appeals to you?
I love that the body is giving you the symbols or these, not symptoms, it's telling you what's going on, even for the body systems, like your heart. People will be using language like I'm heart sick or heart sore, or it cut me to the quick, and they'll point here. So that's your body saying, well, something's going on with your heart meridian. So what does it need to help itself come good?
So what if somebody doesn't have the language or can't express it?
But they're using it without knowing.
Okay.
And that's why when you start the kinesiology and you use muscle testing I talk to people's arms, not so much their mouths. We'll show you in a second. And the it's a muscle response. Okay, so a muscle knows its job. And when it's under any sort of stress, it'll let go momentarily so it doesn't tear. But then it goes, oh, false alarm. And it resets again. So your body can be letting you down without you being aware of it from a stress trigger. And it's an emotion. So it's the emotional attachment to a stress event.
An emotional attachment to a stress event. So let's say we'll use the example of a woman in business.
Yep.
She's had a client and the client has said no to her services, or they've come back with a real complaint and it's an issue, and for her it's triggered something in her body, and she comes to you saying, I can't cope with this business, it's too stressful, my customers, it's too hard to take care of people. What would they be presenting you with? What symptoms or symptoms?
Overwhelmed. Okay. So they'll be overwhelmed. They won't straight away attach it to themselves, but they'll be feeling run down, they'll be feeling burnt out, they'll be feeling as though they don't know who they are, or are they going in the right direction. So if you can think of your body as a triangle, so the triangle needs a physical, a chemical, and a spiritual side of life to be in harmony. If they're not in harmony, disharmony occurs, and that's where ill health and trauma comes from. So
she comes to you, I'm overwhelmed, I can't seem to cope, and you have this 2-hour conversation with her, and then what's next?
Well, when I physically say, what have you come here for? Like, why are you here? And they'll start talking about, she might say, my business is not working, or I'm not earning enough money. So she might not have worked out at that stage. It's not her business. It's just that the money's not coming in, or I've got to get a job, or things aren't working out.
So they're not just coming to you for physical symptoms. They're coming to you for.
I'd say 85 to 90% come for an emotional reason.
Okay.
Emotional, spirit. I wanted to work only on structural stuff. I only wanted to work on knees and ankles and things like that. That's so I didn't want the metaphysical side of it. I joined that kicking and screaming.
Right.
So. Yeah.
But the process of working with clients has led you down that path.
Well, I think the realisation that, it doesn't matter what you want, you're there for a reason. And it's all, not just one part. So you might have a shoulder that's not working because of an emotional trauma that's happening, not always a physical trauma. So we work out the goal, and the goal, after talking to her, I'll sort of identify the goal that's the domino. And it might be my inner child is safe and well. Because if she was told as a child, no, that's creating a memory trigger. So in business, when she's getting the no, as well, she's reacting as a child, not as an adult.
Okay, and not aware of that. Consciously she's going, I'm approaching my business in a very logical, grown-up way, but the inner child is going, I don't feel safe. Yeah. And that's showing up as overwhelm.
For her, well, she melts down. She starts doubting her decisions, so she's not as confident anymore and frustrated and everything else. And then you start to get physical symptoms as well. Okay.
So let's say someone comes to you with a physical symptom. What's the physical process of muscle testing that you would take them through?
Okay, so once we've done the 1 hour chat, they lay on my couch and they don't undress for kinesiology. So if kinesiologist asks you to undress, run.
Keep your clothes on.
Because it's not right. Okay. So you're laying on a couch, and I will actually talk to their arm.
Okay, you want to talk to my arm?
So can I talk to your arm? So I'll talk to this arm. So can you see this? All right. So this arm, to hold the arm up there like that, your muscle knows what it needs to do. So if I just ask you to hold the arm there, it knows to hold it quite firmly. Now I'm putting light pressure on it, but if the muscle wasn't working, it wouldn't matter how little pressure, you wouldn't be able to hold it there. Okay. All right. So that's working quite well. If I turn the muscle off there, straight away your arm starts to go down.
I'm doing the same amount of resistance.
Yeah. But then the brain says, no, that's a false alarm, and it holds it again. All right, so if you think of something traumatic that happened to you as a child,
Lord. Okay.
Just one thing. Well, even you mentioned that your mum passed. So just think of your mum passing, straight away your arm.
I don't want to cry.
No, don't cry. Okay. But it's a memory trigger. Okay. But the mirth that you used around your mum doesn't cause you a stress. No, because it was good. All right, make sense? Yep. Same with a smell. I'm not going to draw on you. You hold your arm out there. So I've just got a normal felt pen. So I want you to smell it. So straight away your body goes, I don't like that smell, whether you like it or not. Because some people say, but I love felt pens. The body thinks it's a danger. Okay. And it sets it off. It says, no, something might happen. So I let that muscle down so I don't tear. And then it says, no, it's a false alarm. It fixes it again. All right, sugar is another one that can flick a lot of people.
I promise, I'm just going with this.
So that really went down.
Do red wine.
I haven't got any with me. Wine. But I tell you what I could use. Where's your phone? It's been used, is it?
Just a sec. There it is.
Right. So this is Nicole's phone. So hold it there. Okay.
Don't call me.
On your chest. Women put their phone in their bra. It just means there's negative feedback coming from the phone. The electromagnetic radiation can be affecting us. All right, doesn't mean it's always bad. It just means it can be affecting,
and to be aware of it, and
to be aware of it. So what can you take? What action can you take to help yourself?
Okay. And so they've come to you. They've had a consultation. You've done the muscle testing. Is that to find out where in their body or where in their emotions something is stuck and needs clearing?
Usually, it's to ask them what's the best goal. So what domino can we work on? That's the first thing we find out, and then we find out what emotion that goal is from. And we have emotion. We have charts everywhere. My room's covered in charts, right? Someone else has worked all this out and I haven't had to. I just have to know how to do the process. So there's different emotions that affect different body systems.
Right.
So negative toxic emotions, which are very take your feet out from under you, are generally sitting in the gallbladder liver meridian. And they're words like rage, wrath, hate, toxic, powerless, things like that affect the energy of the gallbladder and liver, which is your grounding element. So in the Chinese philosophy, it's the green element, which is the wood element, and that's all about grounding. So it's why some of those emotions can come out and take your feet out from under you. Because a lot of people have done a lot of work on themselves and for themselves. And it's very frustrating for them as well that one little incident can come along and take away their confidence.
I like how you did that with them.
Yeah, it just goes
taking their feet
yeah.
away. So you have a 10-step system to help people. Will you share some of that with us?
I will. I realised early on that I had to explain why stress. So the number one reason people come to see me is stress.
I might come and see you myself.
And stress affects people in different ways. All right. So, but stress, people don't always realise that their chaotic life is a stressful life. They think it's normal. Well, it's not normal to be totally stressed all the time. You can be in stressful situations, but you need downtime. You need to be able to breathe at different times as well. So I came up with I had to come up with a concept that wasn't complicated to explain to clients why they were feeling like they were feeling. Right, and the first one was with telling people they had a stress bucket. So that's the first one. So if you can imagine a line running through the middle of your body, and you have a bucket on either side. Now one side's your stress bucket, and the other side's your life energy. People understand the stress bucket, but they don't quite get the life energy. Now your life energy sits here. It's your joy and happiness. It's your immune response. It's your ability to come up with solutions. Right? It's your life energy. If you haven't got joy and happiness in your life, your stress is winning.
Okay.
Right? So you need to flip that over. Most people that come to me have got a high stress bucket, low life energy.
Right.
We need that to be changed. And we identify that with a pre-test. So I actually find out the percentage that the goal that we're working on is stressing that person just by saying it.
And what's this bucket here?
This is Henry. This is the stress bucket.
She has a Henry bucket.
I have. If you have a Henry in your life, don't call it your stress bucket. Call it another name.
Maybe you do call him your stress bucket. Depends on your relationship.
My dad named Henry. I went to my parents. My parents were my guinea pigs when I was learning kinesiology. And I said, I need to name my stress bucket. And quick as a blink, my dad said, Deliza. And I went, what? Deliza? It was so quick. And he said, you know. I go, no. And he said, the whole thing, the hole in the bucket. And I went, Henry, exactly.
Yeah. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza,
yeah,
dear Liza.
It's a German song, and Dad's German. And it came to him straight away that the bucket was Deliza. So Deliza is your life energy.
Okay.
And this is Henry.
What's in there?
That's my number one tip, is smiling.
Aww. It's working on the show.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So when I do my talks and everything, I get everyone to look at Henry and meet Henry and take a pair of smiles out of Henry. And
Why a pair of smiles?
Well, one's for them and one's to share with someone else. So they can gift it.
Really love it.
So people forget that smiling raises your life energy. It lights another person's soul. It's simple, it's free, it's contagious, it's easy, it doesn't cost anything.
And you don't have to feel happy to smile.
No, you don't. And that's the thing, when clients are really stressed, the last thing they want to do is smile.
Right.
And I have to teach them sometimes to look in the mirror and just do that. And just do this.
But you're doing that right now as you're watching this video. Marnie,
so
you just want to smile.
do that. Because the muscles know what that means. The muscles know to release the happy hormones. And even if you don't feel like it, that's when you need to do it. So I make my clients smile at 3 people or things a day. That's their first bit of homework they get.
I wonder if that's why all those cat videos go viral.
Because that makes you feel good.
We're looking for opportunities to go, oh, smile, lift our own energy. I think there's potentially an innate desire or realisation for all of us to know that we're feeling a bit flat.
Yes.
Our stress bucket, our Henry bucket.
Yeah, our Henry bucket is overflowing.
I have a whole new vocabulary.
Yeah. Well, the thing, it's like a dripping tap. So Henry will fill up with small things as well as big things. And there's certain things you can't keep out of Henry because you've got no control over it, like the weather. You know, you can't stop the sun coming up or the moon shining, but why worry about it? So how about putting things aside you've got no permission to worry about or no opportunity to change.
Right.
So the bride that worries about the weather should put some energy into thinking, what can I do if it rains?
Right.
Not worry, is it going to rain? What point is that?
Put some strategies in place.
Yeah, so you think it's going to rain, get some umbrellas, get some canopies, or get something that your guests will be safe. That way your brain can say, oh, thank God she's fixed that. I can stop nagging her.
Okay. And that therefore the muscles will relax as well.
Well, you'll relax. You'll find it's something you've ticked off. You can tick off that job.
Love it.
So you move on to the next.
What if your bucket's full of little...
You have to learn to get some of the little stuff out or keep some of the little stuff out. But you can also play a game of tennis with Henry as well. All right, so playing tennis.
Lots of fun.
Well, it is. It's let's play a game with your stress rather than being totally annihilated by it. So sometimes you need to respond to something, so you will, and that's okay. But other times, why don't you just step aside and let the stress go past you? Don't own it.
Don't let it land with you.
Don't let it land with you. Or play. You get a racket. Choose what size racket you're working with today.
So you could literally just go, oh, no, not having, batting that one away.
It's not my challenge.
I'm walking around with some smileys on my shirt.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was one of the tips, the Henry.
Yeah. Well, it's the smiling. The smiling is one of my 10 top tips.
Okay. What's another one?
Breathing, which we mentioned before.
Just recognised that I wasn't doing it very well right now.
Well, breathing is intrinsic to life. If you're not breathing, you're not living. Okay, and just there's a bone at the back of your head and a bone at the back of your hips, right? And one's called the coccyx and one's the occipital bone. Now what happens is when you're breathing, they do this pumping kind of motion, right? And it makes the cerebral spinal fluid go up the spine, gets to your head, and then gets distributed. When you're in danger, you shallow breathe. Yeah, all right, because that's a danger response. When someone's in a lot of stress, they feel like they're in danger. So their body's got this adrenal response going all the time. So you need to be able to step back from the stress. And that's another thing. Just if you're there and you're so stressed you can't think, take a step back.
Do some breathing exercises, oxygen.
Take 3 breaths and then step back in again. You've paused. You've paused your stress and then you can think again. Because in the middle of it, you can't come up with solutions. When you're in there, you've got Buckleys of working out something.
How do you interrupt that pattern? You're in a boardroom meeting and there's stupid things happening around the boardroom table, or you're trying to drive your business forward, or the kids are driving you nuts, or you can't find the sale that you need. How do you interrupt the pattern when your normal behaviour is to...
Take a breath. You've got to identify that that's something that you do under stress and go, okay, what can I do that will stop that happening? So have a trigger. That means... in your mind, think of a happy thing. Or imagine the smell of peppermint. I mean, you can do that without even looking at anything.
I just did when you said that.
Yeah. And peppermint makes you take a nice deep breath.
It does. Right. So the first thing is awareness.
Awareness. Okay. Awareness that one of the things I do under extreme stress is hold my breath. Also, too, when you're not breathing, you're not coming up with creative solutions.
Because you're not getting as much oxygen to
your
brain.
Your blood flow at the front here is not working. Okay. So that's the other thing you can do is just physically put your hand across your forehead. What that does, the heat brings the blood flow to the frontal cortex of the brain. That's where our creative solutions come from. Then you put your hand down. Okay. To keep it there.
I'm waiting for the creative inspirations to appear.
It just happens because
I actually feel like it's a nice self-care thing to do. It's almost
lovely.
like giving your own body a hug. Like, I'm here. Yeah. Thank you.
And if you rub your hands together and then do it, it's even nicer. Because you've got the heat from your body.
Or even in your eyes from too much screen time.
But the 2 points just there and there are the emotional stress release points in the body. just there and there.
So
Your hand is a perfect size to get the points. A lot of people, when you give them tips, they worry they haven't got the right spot. Now, if you're an acupuncturist and you're dealing with a client, you need to know the exact spot to put the needle. But we're not talking about being an acupuncturist. We're talking about self-help tips to cope with stress. So your hand is a perfect size for your body.
Oh, I love that.
All right. So you're going to get the right point.
You're your best carer.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Right. And the other point we've spoken about with Mel was Control-Alt-Delete. So there's two little. This is the point people. Have I got the right point? You've got your collarbones, and just below your collarbones are two little dints. Just
okay.
there.
Yep.
And there. They're K27, so they're kidney 27 points on the meridian. But they're our Control-Alt-Delete buttons.
What
It resets. It recalibrates the brain. It resets the brain.
Oh, like
So
it's
just
not
hold
going
it
to switch
there.
you off in a meeting so that you can't think properly. It's
Well, if you just do that, you're rebooting. You know when you're on a computer, well, people sort of say, are you okay, dear?
I'm not really sure. I'm being very creative in my reboot.
Yeah,
right now.
but if you don't want to do this whole thing, if you're, say you're working away on your computer and you hit those buttons and you get macro, the only way to get the screen clean again is to reboot the computer. These points here reboot the computer.
What do you need to do with those points?
Oh,
You need to
just put your hand there.
just that.
Just do that.
Oh my god, it's so easy.
And because you've already said to your body, this is my reboot, I need to rethink.
It's also that subconscious.
It knows that when I do that, I need help. So let me take a breath, step back, and then step back in again and see what I can do. And
You
teach
can
the
do this
children to do
anywhere.
this.
Exactly. You can do this
Absolutely.
at school. You can do this
Yeah.
in the car before you pick the kids up from school. You can just
Teach the children to do it if they're feeling. I don't know about you, but when I was young, my mother would say to me, count to 10. You're going to punch someone. She'd count to 10 first. Oh, so you count to 10.
Did you ever do 7, 8, 9, 10?
No, we always did 1 to 10. But sometimes at the end of 10, you still want to punch someone. And that's okay, because that's you've taken a breath, you thought about it, but you really still want to do it.
Right.
But it stopped that quick flick response.
I love this. Thank you, Marnie.
Yeah.
You've written a book.
I have.
Share it.
Creating calm amid chaos. So
Perfect.
it's about, it incorporates my 10 points to de-stress, which are not rocket science. When I first wrote them, I gave them to a lot of colleagues and said, can you check these out and see what you think? And I said, don't think they're going to be too overwhelming, because what people forget to do in the middle of stress is simple things.
And isn't it interesting? We often look for real complicated solutions.
You don't remember them.
And you don't need them.
No.
We are
Go back to
actually-
basics.
Yeah, go back to basics.
Yeah.
So what will they find in here? They'll find
My
the
10
tips.
points to de-stress, they'll find what stress is. So what's the actual meaning of stress? What does it do to you? How does your body respond to stress? I've gone through the different body systems. So I've done some work on the body systems. That's the scale of stress. So there's I think it's Ra. I always get it wrong. Ra and Horn? No. Oh, it's in there. It's a psychological scale of reference.
Right.
And it's supposed to be, there's all these scenarios for everyday life. It's called something. What's it called? It's a rating scale, but it's called, I can't see the name. I always forget.
The social readjustment rating scale.
Yes. And it's everyday things that could cause you a stress, and they get you to allocate a number to it.
Oh.
And it's things like, you know, a new baby in the family, loss of job, holidays.
Being interviewed live on camera.
Being interviewed live on camera. Could be in there, I don't believe it is, but, you know, we could add it to that. And you're supposed to get a scale of about 200, right? And if your scale comes up to 200, it means you're living in a stressful situation. Well, I know when I first wrote my book, I asked somebody to give me their scale of stress, and they were like 300. And I said, what, in a year? She said, no, in a week. And I went, oh, you poor thing, how are you? And she said, oh my God, I'm feeling terrible.
I need you.
Yeah,
Right.
but it helped her realise why she was feeling so overwhelmed. Because they are everyday things in there. They're not out of the ordinary.
And how can people get a copy of your book?
They can get it from our website, www.connect.com, or ring me.
Great.
Yeah.
Definitely ring Marnie. She's amazing. I feel so much better having spoken to you.
Oh,
And
You're
I'm
doing
sure
that.
that helps.
You're going to run red like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I really love the practical tips.
Yeah.
If there was one thing you could say to the people watching this right now, what would you like to leave them with?
I forget what I was going to tell them.
Tell them anything you wish.
It was Kate. It was this one. It was the deep de-stress. Learn to identify your stress. So just come up. Just say to your body, "What's this about?" Sit down for 5 seconds and say, "What is actually going on?"
Because
it's
usually
usually
in
not
the shoulder or a headache or a stomach pain or
with
tension in
your
chest.
body and health. I'll often say to people, think about the organ that's connected to where the pain is feeling. Okay, so your shoulders are carrying the burden.
Okay.
So people that carry a lot of stress in their shoulders feel as though the weight of the world's on their shoulders and they feel restricted. I heard this analogy once, that there's 3 kinds of businesses in life. There's my business, your business, and universal business. Now, I've got control over my business. I have no control over your business or universal business. So is it something that you can have got some control over? Yes or no? If it's yes, okay, what can I do about it? If it's no, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it anyhow. It's not about me.
I like it. Great.
So identify your stress. If you can do something about it, do so. If you can't, phone for help.
Let it go, or call Marney.
Let it go.
That stress
Yeah.
out. And I like the fact that it's non-invasive identification of where you're holding stress or what is stressing you in your body, even if you're not aware of what it is.
And it's personal. So what will stress one person will not stress another. A spider will freak me out. It won't freak out someone else that likes them.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much for being
That's right, my pleasure. Thank you
This
very
has
much.
been awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Make sure you grab a copy of this book. I just had a flick and it's really good stuff.
It's good, yeah.
To learn more about how to create your own hot and healthy life, join our private Facebook group where experts share mind, body, and business tips each week so you burn bright, not out.
If you like this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button and go and check out all our other videos. I'll see you in the next one.